My name is Adam Black. I'm the product manager for HeavyJob, and I am very happy to be here and showing you our new iOS. Perfect. All right, so we're going to be talking a lot about Diary and about the time card and about production plans. And then if we still have time, we're also releasing some new updates to the HeavyJob web that I figured I would throw in there just for fun so we can take a look at. So let's get into it. So we'll start here. I'm actually going to the time card for the beginning, and I have a time card here. It's a multi-job time card. It looks quite lovely. And for at least, I guess maybe going on 2 or 3 years at this point, we have had the ability to update time cards, which means download time cards for this particular foreman that are up in the cloud. And the reasons you might do this are a variety of reasons. If the manager revised the time card, the foreman obviously is going to need to get that on his own system. If the foreman loses an iPad or switches iPads, you know, so a lot of y'all have been using HeavyJob mobile now for 3 or 4 years. We're coming into the standard refresh rate where it's time to start thinking about getting new equipment for the foreman, and they want to maintain all their previous time cards. And so this is one way of getting those time cards back onto the system. Now, by default, as part of the standard every 4-hour update, or this little refresh button at the top right, which you can hit or the foreman can hit, time cards will be downloaded for the last 7 days. So the foreman, in general, won't have to press this all that often. However, if they're wanting to get those time cards, wanting to verify that they have the most up-to-date version of their time card, or to go back beyond the previous 7 days by choosing a new date range, they're absolutely able to do that by going to this area and hitting the update time cards. And as I mentioned, this is something that's been in the system for a couple of years now. And what we've actually done recently is added it into the diary. So you'll notice that we redid our diary with the last version of HeavyJob Mobile that came out, which was 4.1. One of the reasons why we redid it is because we were going to have to address some of the back-end issues involved with letting y'all download the diary, and we figured we might as well update the front end as well. So that came out a month or 2 ago with 4.1, and now with 4.2 we have the option to update diaries. Very similar to what you see on the time card. So you'll be able to download those, which is something that a lot of our customers, a lot of y'all have been asking for. We did not do it. We did not expect to need diaries to be downloaded again, but as our support staff has definitely been aware, because they hear it from y'all, and I hear it from y'all directly as well. You wanted diaries to be able to be downloaded as well, and so now that is available on the iPad, or it will be next week when we go into full general release for this version. So cool. I'm going to move on to another thing that we added on the diaries that is very similar to the time card. So I'm going to go back into the time card. And what some of you may notice is at the bottom left there is a current Foreman code. Now this is not going to show up for all of your Foreman users. What this is in place for is there are some foremen that are working basically a double shift, which is they're having to create a time card for the day shift, and then they're working the night shift as well. And because the way HeavyJob is set up, we need that job date and foreman to be unique. And so in the past, we've always recommended creating what's called an alt Foreman code, and some of y'all know it as a Z Foreman or ZZ Foreman code. So what's going on is HeavyJob Mobile is looking through the employee library and saying, okay, I'm logged in right now as Sam Merrill, and so that's my Foreman code. However, there's somebody else in the employee library with the exact same payroll code. So it's a different employee code, but it's a foreman with the exact same payroll code, which means they're probably the same guy. So in this case, if I click on Merrill S down here at the bottom left, it'll actually pull up a pop-up and show me everybody, up to 4, I think, that has the same payroll code. So in this case, in my employee library, I have Sam Merrill for shift 2. And to verify that, I can actually just come in here to add crew, scroll down to my M's here, and there we go. So we have Sam Merrill or Merrill, S is the employee code. Merrill, S2, which is Sam Merrill, my night foreman. And so both of those show up as different employees on the list. However, the nice thing is I can switch over. This is, again, our night foreman, our alt foreman ability. And this has existed on the time card in mobile since almost the very beginning. What has not existed is our ability to do that on the diary. And so now it exists on the diary as well. All right, so you notice I was bouncing back and forth between the time card and diary, which is in general fine if you're on a single job's time card, but we realize it can be a little bit clumsy if you are, like my current foreman Sam Merrill is doing, working multiple jobs at the same time. And so what we've done is we've tried to make it a little bit easier for you, which is to be able to jump directly from this multi-job time card by going to the More menu down here below to my diary. And so I'm clicking on View Diary, and now it's giving me the option to see my diary for the Fresno job. And I'm actually going to come in here. I'm going to use my location here, populate that. I'm going to add in a quick phrase, and it's going to, well, it's what happens when we're using the dev version here. I'll show you real quick from here in time card. More, View Diary, Fresno. There we go. Okay. So you'll notice I can send the time card, or send the diary right from here. So I'm going to hit the send button. Diary has been sent. It automatically puts me back into the time card, and it's added a letter, the D, next to the job's name at the top. So I know that that diary has been sent. If I were to go back into there, View Diary, and if I need to make a quick note of that without sending, I can actually click on at the top left time card. It'll take me back to the time card instead of putting me back onto the home screen. So it's just a little bit of linking that we've done to make everything easier for y'all to use. What we've also added in there is the ability that if and I'm not sure it's been set up for these jobs. Now everybody knows that we added in Timecard Warning several years ago, but one of the new Timecard Warnings that we're now going to start respecting is requiring a diary to be sent before the time card is sent. And so if a diary has not been sent and the foreman hits the send on the time card, it's going to go through and check and say, oh, hey, yes, you're allowed to send the time card because you've already sent your diary in. Or no, hey, what's up, man? You haven't filled out your diary yet. Be sure to do that. So that's one of the other things that we've been able to do, and we'll be bringing out to you very soon. Alrighty. So seen diary. Did the download. We did alt foreman. Alrighty. Here on the time card, we made a few smaller changes, and I'm going to run through a very a largely requested one, which is going to in relation to our equipment and meter on, meter off status. So let's say I'm being a good foreman and I'm putting in the fact that, you know, the meter on this one is 9,845, and at the end of the day, after running it for 10 hours, it was 9,855. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm going to come into the time card for tomorrow and copy from yesterday and go back onto that excavator. And you'll notice that it has automatically copied the meter off from yesterday into the meter on for today. If there is nothing in there for meter off, then obviously it's not going to copy in anything to meter on. So it's just a little simple copy thing that we're doing there, but we hope it's something that y'all will find of good use. And once again, encourage the foreman to be submitting those meter readings because we understand how valuable they are. All right. The next thing that I want to show is actually here in Production Planner. So Production Planner was something that we came out with in February or March of this year, and it is a parity feature for us. It's something that existed for a long time on the laptop, a very long time on our HeavyJob Field laptop version, and it now exists in mobile for iOS. But we understood when we were building this that a fair number of our customers actually don't plan for production on a daily basis. It's more of a weekly basis. So what we're doing is is allowing you to plan on a weekly basis now. So by default, it's set to the date that I had in the system before, June 30th, because that's what I created my time card for. But I'm going to go in there and select a new date. So I'm going to plan for next week, and that's probably going to be July 3rd through July 7th. You notice it highlights the entire range there. I click the Done button. Wait for it to, the lag to go. Okay, hit the Done button. And now there, July 3rd through 7th, Monday through Friday, it has the full date range there. I'm going to go grab a time card to just make this nice and easy. Go grab my time card from today. And so now I'm planning for doing this production with these hours. Now since I'm doing it for a week, I would probably want to, these were all based on daily hour amounts, so I'm going to bump these up to my half a week amounts of 20 each. And then this should be times 5. Well, shoot, we're already off track. Let's go take a look at what it would take to get us back on track based on the amount of hours. We should be able to be doing almost 70 square feet. So I'm going to, linear feet, excuse me. So I can actually just click on there if I think that the crew is going to be able to hit that. And now it checks it off. And I'm going to go ahead and click on my next cost code here. Off track again. I either need to remove 65 employee hours from somewhere on the time card there, and I can actually open that up and start removing these things. Or I can come here and adjust my production upwards. Because if you're off track, it's either going to be increasing production or decreasing costs. And so try and make it nice and easy there for the foreman to be able to do that. So I'll actually increase my production here. Oh, everything looks good to go. And now I have that production plan for the week. I can actually send this in, at which point my send button turns into my create time card button. And I'll create time card again. And it's going to allow me to choose a date to create that time card for. Now, if I already have a time card created, for instance, for today or tomorrow, you can't tell, but my finger is clicking on those and it's not doing anything. So instead, I'd probably direct that to July 3rd, the first day of the week. It will go ahead and create the time card for that day, and then I can make modifications from there. Now, we do understand that with the weekly or the basically date range, the multi-day version of Production Planner, it is going to be a little bit more rare for you to create a time card from there, but we left that functionality in just in case. Primarily, it's going to be used to just create the full date range, whether that's 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks for your production plans, and let the foreman figure out what's going to work, or for that matter, the manager mobile users figure out what's going to work in those cases. So, fire this up. This right here is our HeavyJob web dashboard. HeavyJob Web, of course, is a part of HeavyJob Manager Mobile at this point. The subscription is the same whether you want to use it on an iPad or in the web. You're paying the same price for that access, and so this is what it looks like on the web through a browser. And we have, as we released 6 months ago, the dashboard, a daily digest, and time card review. We have a new section of reports that is that's expanded a great deal, and so one of which is the equipment detail report. Let's go check that out. Alrighty. Oh, there it goes. And I actually don't know where the best data is in this particular demo company that we have, so I'm just going to go to March for a couple of weeks, and I will hit apply here. And you'll notice this is very similar to the equipment detail report on the desktop. So now what we're basically doing is moving those reports plus reports into the web and making them available wherever you need them from a web browser. And so here I have my equipment code, description, the date of that time card, the job it was on, and so I can do handy things like drag up, let's see, description up here, and now it's grouping by those descriptions, or I can do the same thing for code. This is down. Can also drag up job, much like you can do for, code. That's what it wants. And so now it has the equipment and the job code right there. I can also click on the date right there, and it will open up the time card directly from this report, so you can see the time card for which that equipment was on. I can also click up here at the top right into choose columns, and so this lets me turn on all the columns that I want. And here we go, Heather, is that meter on and meter off. So I will check those on, and it may be that none of our foremen actually filled those out, but here's a nice way that we can check. And so I'm going to bring all these back down, so I'm not grouping by anything. But I can say, let's find somebody that actually filled out meter on. Why is that not? Always helps to have numlock on your keyboard. And so in this case, for my sales company that was setting this data up, in those 2 weeks, nobody entered in a meter reading. So shame on them, and we will get on them for being more observant about their fake equipment. So that's the equipment detail report. We also have, stuff like cost code summary, a very popular one. In this case, when I click on this cost code link right here, it will actually, and I love opening these up in separate tabs so that I can come back to this as needed. I don't think I actually showed you, but this was Clay Scott's time card when I'm going to have to go all the way back out here. So when I clicked on Clay Scott for this date, it opened up the time card for that date, so you can see that time card exactly there. So I will close that so I don't start getting confused. For Costco Details, I clicked on this top one here, this top Costco here, and it opened up the detail report for just that Costco, and so I can see that. In this case, it's only been on one time card so far, and so it only has this information here. But once again, I can select all my different columns and other information directly from this screen. One of the other cool things I'd like to show is, in addition to having all the filters here, is we can, in fact, say, I want to see everything that is actually greater than 50% complete, because I want to see what's getting closer. And so it just filters the list, everything right there. Another cool thing is you start out with each of these reports in a sandbox mode, which is just your general area that you're going to be playing around with. And the system is going to automatically remember by user what your last configuration is, and whether that's filters in place or where you want columns and groupings and which columns you have turned on. It'll automatically remember all of that. But in case you're moving around those a lot, you can actually create a template, much like you can in the desktop. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to do Save As. And this is my weekly cost code summary template. I don't know. Y'all will come up with much more creative things than I can at this point. So now it's that template, and it shows up here on my list of templates. I can click here and favorite it, and now it'll also show up on my favorites list. So if I have 10 or 15 of these templates, you'll be able to just pick out one or two that you run every day or every week, and those are going to be the ones that you're going to hit up. The nice thing is I can also share that across the board to everybody. I can say, are you sure you want to make the template public? If you continue, others in your business unit, in this case, will be able to see this template. Do you wish to continue? So I can hit continue. Now my world is lit up there, and it's no longer a private template, it's a public template. And somebody else that's logged into this particular sales demo company would be able to see that template that I just created. If I make a change, let's say I want to move actual quantity over here because I prefer that. You notice my gear has gone red here. Unsaved changes exist. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to hit save. And now I'm good to go. Otherwise, next time I come into this template, it's not going to remember it. So this is basically some of the new reports that we've added in. All of these are available on HeavyJob Web, and like I said, these are coming out later today if they're not already out. For those that have questions, we released Manager Mobile a year and a half ago at UGM 2016 in Houston, And what that was on the iPad the ability to approve time cards, to look at a daily digest, a daily view of what's going on the job site, as well as look at your job analysis. And then 6 months ago at UGM 2017, we released a similar component for the web. And this is where we intend to branch out a lot, as you've seen with these reports, is give you a lot more functionality. All of this is tied in directly to your desktop system. If I approve a time card on the web, it will be downloaded just like a regular mobile Foreman time card, and it will appear there as approved. So there's a great benefit to being able to, if I'm off-site, I don't need to remote in through a terminal server for some of these basic functionalities like approving time cards and now looking at reports. I can just go to heavyjob.hcssaapps.com, which in this case, you're going here. Don't add the dev on there. You're welcome to try that. You'll get a lovely login screen, and you won't be able to log in without one of our development username and passwords. But if you go to heavyjob.hcssaapps.com, you will be able to log in using one of those Manager Mobile login subscriptions that you've been able to create for about 1.5 years. So I do apologize if I am being confusing. HeavyJob exists both on the desktop and on the iPad and in the web, and it's all one big system that you've purchased, and you're just choosing about where you'd like to access all of your data. As the workforce gets more mobile, as your guys are spending more time out in the field, whether they're PMs or engineers or supers, we want to be able to get the data to them where they can make the decisions count. And that's not always in the office. A lot of the times that's in the field, so that's why we're doing that. So another one of the cool changes that we've made is, let me pull up time card review. So looking at Clay Scott, this time for March 10th. Here's our time card and everything. I'm going to reload his time card here. And because I want to show you what happens at the bottom of the screen now. And this has been a new addition, once again, just coming out real soon. So I'll scroll down. Now we have a load diary and photos button down there at the bottom. And basically, this was just, I'm looking at the time card. I want to see what was happening on that, on the job site too. I just click here, and magically the page sort of gets longer here. So not my time card, but my actual page itself. There's the weather for the day in 4-hour increments that we're automatically gathering for you through an API that we paid for. Down here, you can read more about it. And I got his contact information. It's coming directly out of Employee Setup. Here's his phone number. Here's an email address for the foreman. Here's the diary information he put in. And here are the photos he took. So in this case, hydrant busted. I can also click on a PDF that's been submitted. We were talking about those fill-in forms from earlier. This is one where the company set up a time-off request form, and it's being submitted. So Derek Banks evidently would like the day off on March 17th, celebrating St. Patty's Day. Nothing wrong with that. And his foreman, Clay Scott, was just submitting it for approval. And if I need to, I can actually hit the View Full PDF, and it's going to download that PDF for me. And so I can see it directly there with the foreman signature. So that is HeavyJob fill-in forms, also available on the web and in mobile. So be sure to check that out if you have not seen that before. I am going to close off of this, and I'm going to show you another new button that we have on the time card here, which is the analysis button. And so when I click on, oh, that's weird. So if I click on analysis, it automatically opens it up in a new tab here. Oh, I already opened it up earlier. So here we go. So here are the 3 cost codes on that particular time card, and it's showing me how they're doing, in this case, with those variances there. But with this this is time card analysis, but what we've also done is we've built production analysis, available from the reports menu on the left again. So I'm going to click on there. And let me look what my filter is. So I chose year to date, so this is the last 6 months basically, and I grabbed a couple of jobs, in this case, my Hanbury and Fountain Lake job, all my foreman, all my cost codes, and all my cost types. And this is what it pulled up. So it's showing each of the individual cost codes in these jobs that were worked over the last 6 months. And I can look at, see what the variance is. I can obviously see that some things lost me a little bit of money, but when my clearing and grubbing is making me 6 figures, obviously something is going very, very wrong with my data entry. So in this case, I would definitely want to check out this cost code and figure out why on earth I'm making so much money on that, because something is going wrong there. I can come down and I once again get a very similar report as before. So I can drag and drop. It's going to have 2 jobs as part of this report, so I would expect 2 little filters here. I can export it to Excel. I can turn on columns. I can sort by different things. I want to see anything that was less than that's costing me money. It just shows it right there. Or I can play around right here in the graph. So I want to focus in on Hanberry, Hanberry right now. So I can click on Hanberry, and now it's getting all my cost codes right there. I'm actually going to sort it. I don't need to care about total cost. Let's show cost per unit. And so it's actually going to redo all the numbers and show all of the column information based on that. If I care about labor hours, these are my labor hours numbers. So basically doing our best to replicate production analysis, which has always existed in the desktop system. Now it exists on the web for your Manager Mobile users. So also have the ability, if I just have this report that I love, I can export it out and email it or print it out in case somebody wants to see it. So show you one more report. It's the weekly report. So the weekly time card report. So I'll click on that and have that refresh the screen real quick. I had to go and choose a custom date range just because I don't have any data for the last week or 2. So I chose a custom date range. All my jobs, all my foremen, similar options as the weekly time card report in the desktop. So I'll go to apply here, and it's going to go ahead and build that report out, which we saw before. So here we go. So weekly report for the date range that I chose. It's showing all the hours in a nice, easy to see view. It's summing up the hours, combining them by removing that overtime. If we go a little bit further down, that's the labor hour totals, and now we move into equipment. And so again, you're able to choose whether you even want to see equipment on this report, just see labor and everything like that. And then once it's there, I can go to print, choose whether to print a new page for each resource. I'm not going to waste trees at the moment, so I'm just going to click on print to PDF. And it goes ahead and it outputs all of that into a nice, easy to use, easy to see PDF version of this report, which it's downloaded for me. Depending on how much data you have, it's going to take a little bit longer, 16 pages worth. And look at that. Looks kind of nice. So this is what we got. Put your company name down here at the bottom, which in my case was HCSS ConExpo, and it puts our web address and phone number in case you need it. So outputs it here for you to be able to do what you need to, whether that's emailing or printing. So another nice report that previously was confined to the desktop, but now is available for our HeavyJob Manager users on the web. So that's the weekly report. I already opened that the first time I did this when I was playing around with things earlier. Last one, time card status, just for fun. Always a popular report, and we've actually made it just a whole lot nicer than it is on the desktop system. So we're going to go ahead and run that. And this is fairly basic report. It just shows you what the status is of all your time cards. So generally people run this on a weekly basis to just see and make sure that everything was approved correctly or when the last time something was rejected. So all that information is here, and if you don't see something you need, like you need approved and reviewed, so the first 2 levels, you can click those on and they'll now be added on here in the right slots. I can also click on, a time card, or click on a link here, and it will open up that exact time card, so I can go and check on the time card directly as needed. In this case, this one was rejected. I guess I clicked on this one here. So it was rejected by me, and I can view that rejection note. La 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 la. Okay, very professional, Adam. I can also click on history and see the full history of that time card directly from here. So we're doing our best to make everything linked together when we create these reports. So if this is a time card status report, then you should be able to click and automatically open up the time card directly from there. If you're on the cost code summary report, you should be able to click on a cost code and it opens up the details and lists out by line item every instance of that cost code for that date range. And once you're in there, you should be able to click from a detail into the time card and view what's going on there, whether it's the time card or daily digest. We're going to be on a time card. We want to see what the photos and diaries were for that time card. And so we're doing our best to make sure everything is laced together, tight-knit, so that you get the information where you need it, whether that's in the office or in the field, but also when you're on a screen and I need this information. I don't want to send you to another screen. I don't want you to have to go hunting through what could grow to be a very large left-hand navigation, a large menu thing for us. We don't want it to have to go that far. So we want you to be able to get the information you need directly where you need it.